So you're going to start out with the main color for your headband. I'm choosing to do this red, and it is by Red Heart Super Saver called Hot Red. So we're going to take and make a slip knot. So twist like this, okay. So then we're going to grab as close as we have to the recommended hook size. For this particular yarn, it's 5.5. So now we're going to take and chain 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so now that you've done this, you're going to do a single crochet into the second chain from the hook. So insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. And then you're going to do that through the rest of the chains. So you should have 10 single crochets when you're done with this row. Okay, so now that you have finished your 10 single crochets, you're going to chain 1. Now for the second row, you can choose to either go through both of the loops or just one. I personally like to go through the back loop only because it creates a nice ridge and it gives it a 3-dimensional effect. And so let me get a little closer to show you how you can do that. So we already chained 1. So in this first stitch, we see the 2. We're going to just work into the back loop and do a standard double crochet. So go into the back loop again, and you're going to do this for the entire row. Okay, so now you can see there's a little ridge right here. So we are going to do the same process again. So chain 1, and then again we are going to work into the back loops only, and this will give us a ridge on the other side. This makes it a little bit more stretchier and just gives it an added style, really. I love doing this if I know I'm going to be doing just straight crochets. Or you could even do it, you know, with half double crochets or double crochets. Gives it a little bit of texture, which is nice. Okay. So there we see we have the ridge right here. So now we're going to chain 1. Really, we are just going to be doing that very same pattern over and over again. So you can choose whether you want to work in the back loops like me, or if you just want to work through both loops. And then what you want to do is you want to keep doing several rows. Go ahead and pop in a movie or watch a TV show and then finish when this is 19 inches. It's meant to be the circumference of your head, so just double check, and then we will meet back in a couple minutes. Okay, so as you can see, I have finished it to 19 inches. So I've already checked and it fits perfectly to the circumference of my head. So I'm going to go ahead and put my tape measure away. And then we are going to connect each side so that it becomes a headband. Okay, let me just zoom in so we can get a closer look. I think I'm going to continue to go through the back loops for this one. So I've already chained one, so then I'm going to go through the back loop, and then I'm going to go through the loop on the other side. So then I'm going to yarn over, pull up a loop, and then just go ahead and carry that through. So we're going to do it again. Go in the back of the loop, through this piece, yarn over, and just pull through. As we've mentioned in a previous video, this is called a slip stitch, and it works perfectly for connecting two pieces together. So now when you open it up, you see that you have a completed headband. Anyways, you can see that there's texture in there. You'll be able to see it better in the after photos. And then we're just going to go ahead and take our yarn and cut it. And you want to leave a big enough tail so that you can weave it in later. So now you just take your hook and pull that till there's no more loop. And then we are going to sew in all of the ends later. So now that we have the headband part done, we are going to move along to do the bow. So for the bow, I'm using this yarn by Craftsmart, and it's in the color of Sangria. For the bow, we're going to do just like we did initially with the headband. Yeah, we're going to make a magic knot, and then we are going to chain 11. Alright, so then we are going to single crochet into that second chain and then across. Chain 1. And the only difference this time is that we are going to single crochet through both loops. So I already chained one. Then I'm just going to go ahead and keep doing this until our length is 7 inches. So now that we're back, this piece measures 7 inches. So now we are just going to connect it in a similar manner than we did last time, only this time we're going to be using single crochets. So you want to take and fold that crocheted fabric in half. Okay. I already did my chain 1, so we're going to slip it through both loops, then one on the other side, pull up a loop, chain 1. Then do the same way across. And when you come into this little piece, then you want to go ahead and crochet that in so that you won't have to do it later. So now we have this second circular piece. We're just going to leave a regular tail. So then we're going to go ahead and take our yarn needle, and we are going to sew in this particular end. Because when we do the wrap around the bow, that is what we are going to use to connect it to the headband. So go ahead and sew it in. We're using the same formation as we talked about in the previous video, which is a Z formation. So go one direction, then go the other, and then back in the first direction. When you're finishing something off, very rarely do you ever want to put a knot in there, unless you're connecting it to like another yarn or something, just because this makes it look more polished and more finished. Okay, so now that we have sewn in that end, oops, we're going to pull it a little tight, cut off the extra, and stretch it back out. So now it's in the middle of those stitches. So now we're going to flip this inside out. So then you're going to take your yarn that you used to make the band. We're going to create a magic knot again. Then we are going to chain 7. And 7. Okay. So then we are going to single crochet in each of those stitches across. And just like we did last time, I'm kind of crocheting around that starting leftover yarn, just so I don't have to sew it in later. But you don't have to if you don't want to. Alright, so now we have this little piece. We are going to take and scrunch the bow part that we just made, and then we are going to stretch the piece that we just made around. We're going to hook it and hook it into the other side, and we are going to slip stitch it together. Okay. So then in that next stitch we're going to pick that one up, pick the one up from the other side like that. Oops. Okay, and then take it all the way through. This keeps it tight so it has that nice bow shape. And then we're going to do it with that first row. And depending on the kind of yarn you use, this might be a little tight, but that's what we want because we don't want this to end up sliding off the bow. Okay, and there. Okay. And so now you want to adjust it so that it's in the middle. And we have this cute little bow here. So now we are going to give us a little bit of slack, and then we are going to cut a long tail because we are going to use this to sew it onto the headband. And then we're going to take and pull that loop out like that and tighten it up a little bit. Okay, so now we are going to grab that headband piece that we just did, and we are going to go ahead and sew these two ends in. If you are unsure and you want to make a knot, you can make a knot here. We are going to put the bow right on the seam anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So I'm just going to go ahead and tie that knot. If you don't want to, you don't have to because it's not going anywhere, but it's just to feel more secure. Okay, so since with the other yarn I went this direction, with this one I'm going to go this direction so that's all even. Because the more strands that you try to sew in the same place as other strands, it gets more difficult. And we don't really need to make this any more complicated. You guys have been doing such an amazing job, and we are almost done. So you can applaud yourself on getting this far in the project. So the only thing that we need to do is attach this bow to our main headband here. So we are going to go ahead and take this long tail and go ahead and thread our yarn needle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take where this yarn's at and place it as so. Then I'm going to see where it comes onto the headband, and I'm going to go ahead and sew it to the back, okay? So kind of like this. And then when I bring the yarn up, then I want it to be at the top and the center of the space. And we're going through not only the headband, but we're actually going through 3 layers, the bow and then the middle tie. This way the tie does not move and separate from the bow. It will always be in the center. That's why it's important earlier to make sure that it's in the center. Nor will it separate from the headband itself. So you're just going to do just basic sewing stitches back and forth down the center of the bow. And it might get a little bit difficult because you are going through so many layers, but it will work out and look awesome at the end. Alright, so this is my last stitch on the top side, okay? So as we can see, that's not going anywhere. So then we're going to take and flip this inside out, okay? Now remember, the whole reason of doing the Z formation is because yarn can't be pulled in 3 directions at one time. So you may be tempted to put a knot here, but it is not necessary. Just like we did when we sewed in the other ends, you're just going to take and go in 3 different directions. And since the yarn that we are using is from the middle piece and is the same color as the hairband, you won't even see it, which is beautiful and will help it to look more seamless. Alright, so I just finished sewing that in. I'm going to scrunch it a little bit, cut the yarn, stretch it out so it goes completely inside. And then you are done making your hairband. Now, if you want, you can stick your fingers in the bow and just kind of poof it up just a little bit if you want. That's totally 100% up to you. You can keep it flat. Either way, it really looks nice. Now, if you want a bigger bow, like in the first one that I made, which I'll show you a picture of, them both at the end, you want to make it larger than 7 inches. Just remember that whatever size you go with, remember you have to take and fold it over in half, so the bow size will be half of what you're crocheting. But basically, that's it. Congratulations, you have just finished making your first bow hairband. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and leave me a comment below as to what you want to crochet next. I'm really excited to hear from you guys. Also, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and hit that notification bell to be notified of my new videos. Alright guys, that's it for this Tuesday episode. I'll see you on Thursday. Bye!